Okay, let's get into it, guys. How you going, Nando? Hope you're doing well, mate. Now, welcome to TradeSetup and hopefully a full live stream with no interruptions today. It's the 11th of the 12th, so a few more days and we'll be hitting Christmas. So I think things seem to be slowly winding down, which is all understandable. Christmas parties going on. Hope we're all got planned ahead. We've all done our shopping. Now, again, sorry about the streams of late, and I reckon I may have figured it out. I'm just watching it now. I spent about a couple of hours, I think, when was it? Thursday after the stream, last stream, cracking it a bit, a few hours on the phone with Optus. So we did find out what may have been the reason they stuffed up a couple of things. And I was waiting for a new bill that I hadn't paid and it gone into the collections area, and that way they say when that happens, the data coming through is all, well, I don't know what they do, they halve it, or it's intermittent data, so enough to get on the phone call if you have to, but to stream it really slacked, and that's why it looks like it was dropping out all the time. So we'll see how it goes today. That should be all sorted out, and they apologise profusely after I used a few expletives. So hopefully that's we've got that sorted out. I'm just watching it now, and it seems to be quite steady, the upload speed. So we'll see how all that goes. Just let me know if it does we start having a few issues. Just let me know, and look, if we do have some problems again, we'll just knock it on the head. All right. So how are we all going today? Can you all hear me loud and clear? Just let me know so I know that's coming. It looks like it's coming through anyway. The sound looks good. I'm back to the main computer now. I'm on my desktop, not the laptop. What have I got planned for Chrissy? Anyone going away at all? Just while I'm waiting. You can hear me, can you guys? All good. Fantastic. You're a legend, mate. Thank you. All right. So, well, let's get into it. I know we've still got a little bit of delay with all this, but we should be quite healthy and it should be quite steady. So, yeah, like I said, the stream, we shouldn't drop out. Well, that's what the hoping is anyway. So anyone new, welcome to TradeSetup. What you'll see in the top left-hand corner of the screen, you'll see us that's our Twitter feed there. So feel free to link into us on Twitter, pass the word a bit. We'll be putting up a few bits and pieces. Been getting more active as late, just putting up feeds that we see that we like, things that might be interesting. And we'll just be liking them or passing them on, retweeting them or whatever you call it. And just making sure that everyone gets that. So keep it, link into us on that. Facebook, the top right-hand corner. You'll see us on Facebook. And also the bottom right is probably the most important. Subscribe on YouTube. Just so you know that anytime we do stream anything at all, you'll see a bit of a pop-up saying we've gone live. If you're not on the TradeSetup app, the live app. But anyway, let's get started. I haven't got a video today, so I'm just going only because I haven't really done my hair. I'm quite pedantic about that. So let's get into it. I'll minimize that. The markets on Friday had another good night in the US. They had some good payrolls out. So again, there's the two main drivers over there at the moment of something, and there's also there's something. What is it? Funding over in the US, the government funding that they all tended to agree on, the short-term funding. So there wasn't going to be a shutdown of the government, all these sorts of hoo-ha that they bang on about. Let me just change the stream. So that was a thing that gave the market a bit of a push as well. There wasn't going to be a government shutdown. Then you had really good payroll numbers out in the US. They were better than expected. I think they were expecting 190 or so new jobs created. But there was a few more, about 228,000. Around there, 230,000. So that was better than expected, meaning that the health of or the growth is what the Fed is concerned about, whether it's just it's not as fast as they thought. It's actually showing some really good signs. So that's leading people to view that, okay, the economy is maybe a bit stronger and it is bouncing around a bit. Some of the numbers are not as good, some of them are better. So in the mix, throwing these sorts of things in the mix, it's obviously good for shares, but I think that's what they're viewing at the moment, is just the health of the economy, what's happening, and then seeing how it's going. I'm just looking at something here. So yeah, that was the sort of a driver for Friday night, and that, I think the numbers come out around. Now let me get it right. I think it's 12:30 now. I can never remember if it's 10:30 or 12:30. I think it's 12:30 now, our time, Melbourne time anyway. Melbourne, Sydney time. Not for you Queenslanders if you're listening. But 12:30, and I think the market opens at give or take 1:30. I think, yep. So the market got a good push on the open and then kicked up, and they were positive. It was pretty much a grind higher all night. And the good thing is that Europe kicked higher too. The DAX was higher and the FTSE was higher, so they were very positive as well. So all round it was a very solid session, good global growth figures, and there's some numbers that come out in Europe. Not numbers, but some sort of banking. They come to terms on the banking to make it a bit smoother. The global banking processes or something. So that gave the European banking shares a bit of a kick as well. So they enjoyed that. What else? So it's either that, really it's about growth in the US or global growth and what was the other thing? The tax reform in the US. Now, I don't expect anything to happen before Chrissy on that, because, you know, politicians, if they can go slow, they will. I mean, fast for them is bloody slow. So either way, I don't think there's going to be a decision made on that. But any small thing that happens there, it's a bit of a kick in the right direction for shares. So on the flip side, I don't expect too much selling to come into the market until those scenarios change dramatically, or traders perceive them as going to change. Because if all that ticks along, like the growth in the US, the economic growth, the health of the economy just ticks along nicely, that's not going to change. That's not going to change the course of shares. It's always going to be some of those outlying, when you get such a solid run, that bull run, that market, the market strength in shares over there, especially equities in the US, not so much over here. They keep dragging higher. It takes a bit of an outlier to change the direction. Something to scare people into selling shares and cause a bit of a sell-off. So saying all that, we've got, what I've got here, this is a FTSE, what you can see on the chart there. Let me just change, that's better. That's the FTSE. Had a good session, but that's not by any means on the way high at the moment. It still looks like this, it's holding these higher lows, if you can see. Well, that's a bit more than what I wanted. It's holding these higher lows here, here again. It backed off, it ticked up towards those highs, and it's just backed off again. So if this is going to be a zone where it can hold a higher low again, that'd be nice, but it needs to take out those highs for continuation and to start getting, buyers starting putting pressure on the sellers, pushing it back up, rather than more sellers starting to jump in and less buyers standing in the way to hold it up. You don't really want that on the FTSE anyway. So it's holding higher lows, but it's not convincing. You need it to tick off and it can pull back and build a higher low, then go. Then you probably want to be jumping into some shares over there, or just if you're trading the indices on the FTSE anyway. The DAX is looking a bit healthier. You can see this is a nice little point where it can easily hold a higher low there after this push up through that 13,000. The market backed off. That's your weekly push up. Little pop up through 13. Really, see it consolidated around there, popped up. It's pulled back, consolidated around there again, and it's looking like it's ready to go, and that could be a nice area for a high low. On the daily, it's retested that breakout, the 13, chopped around. That would have dragged out a few of these late buyers into the market, just squeezed them out a bit, put them back on the sidelines, and could be ready to go again. We don't know. But either way, that weekly chart is on its way up. There's no doubt about that. You can see that selling pressure that's come when it got to 13,500. The selling pressure was quite good. You can see that with stochastics, it's around the 50%. So I can easily just turn and start edging higher, take out 13.5 up to 14 into new highs. So there's two, maybe the FTSE's not quite as positive, but they've got their Brexit issues to worry about. Whereas Germany, not much changes for them. It's probably better. The less have to worry about the European Union for Germany, the better probably. So, I mean, they've got a few issues, obviously, but, they were a big support of the EU, a big supporter of the EU, and, funding-wise and that, so it could be beneficial to them. So that's probably why the differences you're seeing in the DAX index and the FTSE. I'm not a master on the global fundamentals, the macro, but maybe it's a bit of an educated guess more than anything else. So what are we looking at now? So let's go back to, we've got the S&P. We've got to find that. I mean, not much to say about that. That is just grinding its way higher. The only thing is it's starting, that you can see that slowly starting to edge up. If that makes, like, the steepness of that move, probably coming into Christmas, you might get a bit of a Christmas sell-off. Who knows what's going to happen? But either way, it's looking quite good. I mean, it's still holding highs. It's could be a good little zone, 26, 25, holding that higher low. If you can see that, that's just in here. We could be looking at new all-time highs again very shortly, in the next couple of days, maybe tonight. If you can tick off, it's going to get about 10, 15 points, I say. Could do that easy. Maybe. So that's looking good. That's the FTSE, the Dow. Not much to say about that. That's just pretty much the same. You know, it had that little pop up, back off it. If it builds a lower high here, it might just be a deeper correction. But really, the key level on the Dow is, you know, right down here around 23,300. So it's got enough room to correct back to the MAs. You know, touch on the MAs, and up she goes again. More of a reversion to the mean. Off a lower high, and that's going to wash out a few of these late buys, squeeze them out of the market, and still hold trend and head higher. So all in all, it's looking good. Let's go to the XJO. If I can find it. I'll just type it in. Might be easier. So this is the top 200, not the 300, not the XAO. Oh. You can go. Yeah, it froze up a bit there, isn't it? So that's your XJO. I mean, that. I did think we could see a bit of a rollover. This could potentially be some lower highs holding, but geez, it doesn't take many days to change that view. You can look at it. Look at the moment. It's more of the flag, pennant, whatever you want to call it. You can put your support line across the higher lows here, and then lower highs the same there. We're just at the top of that. I mean, unless it pops up through that 60, say 30, those highs, then I'll be looking for a higher low to build, and then, you know, all in again, and then that could really keep chugging away to 60. What is it, 6,700? We've spoken about a few times now from the weekly charts, the extension of the original move up. Or we could roll over. I mean, don't forget your anchor's way down here to this move up on the weekly and the daily. Your anchor's really down at 56.50, so it's got a lot of room to move. Wash out a few of these buyers, potentially who have been bought in around 59. I mean, they're not up much at the moment. And I know it sounds like we're talking about the index, but you know, the late buyers into shares, if you get that lower high form and wash out of these little lows, say 59.50, I think there's going to be a few bears jump back in, sell out of the shares, getting a bit nervous because everyone's talking how toppy things are. But really, you shouldn't let yourself get squeezed out of the market until a key level's broken. And really, that key level's really down here on the index anyway, until this overall trend could change. But at the moment, you flick over the weekly, I mean, that trend's higher, higher low, higher low, higher low here. It's looking like it's a daily higher low potentially if it pops up, and then just this leg up from the weekly is going to continue, and that could take us to that, like I said, 68, 67, 6800, who knows, to all-time highs. That would be interesting. I think it's a fair bit to go. I mean, 800 points, but nothing is unachievable. And we've well and truly underperformed global markets. I mean, that's typical of the ASX, where we've been don't like to bag it too much because I trade it, but there's not as many opportunities. We're a lot more tentative. We'll happily go down with a sinking boat, but you know, to rally back up again, we take it. We're very shy buyers, I guess. Maybe we're well outweighed by bears over here than bulls, whereas the US are bulls. I think majority of people. All right. Any questions just there? Is there anyone else's views you want to put in the chat? Feel free. What I wanted to quickly touch on today, had a question, and someone sent an email through. I think it's Laurent. Thanks very much for your email, mate. If you're listening, or if you listen later on, just asking a couple of questions about. And thanks for mentioning that you don't mind the stream, even with a few technical glitches. It looks like I'm hoping, if everyone agrees, we're ticking along nicely today. So far, so good. I don't think we've dropped out just yet. Numbers are sort of fairly stable around the 800, 900 mark, which is good, which is what I want to see, just stability for a change. So Laurent's question was just about how we go about, I guess, the process of just scanning. Do we look at sectors first? I mean, I do look at sectors. I don't look at them very often, to be honest. I think when they start moving, the sector's moving, the stocks are already moving, the setups are already probably come and gone, and you might be getting into the second leg of a second leg of a move up on a longer term chart. So, yeah, I do look at sectors, but that's not my major thing. That I don't, and it's just as easy as sitting on Twitter and just reading what people are doing. You get to a couple of good Twitter feeds. When it was lithium, everyone was talking about different stocks. You have a look at it. Okay, it's in the lithium sector. It's moving, and then you know that there's going to be some good setups. And generally, the different sectors are probably a bit lagging. It is good to go through to see, obviously, the longer term trend is up and we're on the rise rather than on a correction sort of a phase. So it's good to know what they're doing in that respect. Actually, let's look at them. I'm just going to find them. I did set it up, didn't I? Sectors. Oh, that's typical. No, I did get it right, didn't I? All right. So it's really just worth looking at I'll probably tick over to the weekly is the best thing for me. That's your staples, consumer staples. I mean, that's well and truly on the rise. If anything, we're starting to get a bit extended up towards this level, up towards your 10,250. So, okay, if you're trading something in there, you're probably late to the party. All right, so maybe that's something else we can look at. Consumer discretionary way of view, it's a bit of the same. We haven't corrected back. We're actually pushed up from a high low. So we're starting to get a bit extended just on this little move up. So whether we're going to be seeing more of a pullback, build another high low, and then you might want to jump in for more of a continuation trade within that sector. And don't forget, this is a weekly chart, so we could just jam higher a bit. We are getting a bit overcooked up here, a bit extended, you can see. Let's go to the year. That's probably a bit better. No, that's not really good. So you're seeing we're getting a bit extended up there. So if you're in this zone, it might be, okay, sure we get in. Is it a high probability trade we're looking at? All ears open, no worries, mate. Whether or not you believe in it is a different story. So that's, ticking over that one. What have we got? Energy. Energy, the reason why I do like it, because you can see if we go back, the kind of correction it's had. There could be opportunity in here, but again, if you're talking from 2016, see the grind higher? That's not conducive. I don't like that as much. I don't like those kind of grind higher because that's a correction of this major leg down. Grind and we could go again, or we might go down and test some of these lows, and then we start building longer term. But I definitely think the dynamics there is changing. What you're talking about in energy with crude oil, their production cuts, it's starting to filter through it. It's been a long time coming. I think the US have benefited quite well with their US oil anyway. But it's starting to get the desired effects, and look, they'll keep production cuts on as long as they need to get oil prices back up. So if that's the case, then you might see that this overall sector start changing, but it's even, where it is, it's down on its knees to where it's been you look in the past, back in 2007, the heights when we had that really good run up in 2007. This is a sector, so a lot of heat's coming out of that market longer, really long term. So anyway, that's a bit of a view on that one. There could be some opportunity. Again, even here, look, there could be some opportunity. So looking for some, in that sector, some quality setups on the individual stocks. What else we got? Financials. Well, energy again. Financials there. Look, it's better. It's more likely in the zone. It's not extended like the others. We're coming off more of a oversold zone, and you can see, double bottom here, whatever you want to call it, and that's a change. As we call that a retest fail. It's tested again, can't get through. If that was a weak market, you've got one leg down. The second leg down should be sort of equal, and should take you a bit lower, but it didn't. It sort of found buyers back at that 6,200 zone, and then we popped up. We've taken out that high, that lower high, only on a small scale. And then what I do like seeing is that sort of grind low, one, two legs down, and that's found some more buying. So buyers are stepping in at higher levels. within the sector. So they'll probably find a bit more opportunity within the financial sector. So it's probably something you could look at. What's that? Healthcare. Look, it's in a good zone. In all honesty, it's probably not in a bad zone there. I think there's potential longer term upside. You can have this big leg up, and if just going from left to right on the charts, it's obviously corrected there. So that's your first leg up. It's corrected there. You've taken out your high low of this leg up, so that you've corrected that leg up. Didn't get too far. So if you measure that from say 22, what's that? 19,000 up to roughly 25. That's 6,000 points. Yep. Take that from 22. It takes us to 28. So there's probably a bit more opportunity for a move in this sector to keep grinding higher. So I'd say that's not too bad. So yeah, I mean, we may not go through all of them, but I think that's the way I would go through the sectors to see, you know, and everything's about probability. Remember, we've spoken about it before, and it's no different to an individual stock chart than it is to the sector. How far has it gone? Does it look like it's been overbought? Does it look like we're getting extended in a run up? And you're always looking for those major legs up, because if it's start of a major leg after a macro correction, like we said, we'll draw that up soon. After a macro correction, then you've got potential. You've got some really good potential on that trade, and it's a high probability trade. When you get towards the end and you haven't had a macro correction for quite a while on the longer term charts, then you're probably finding that it's due for one. It's due for people to start taking profits, start edging back out of the market, you know, book some gains. No one's going to sit there holding the gains forever until, you know, no one wants to be the last one, you know, what is it? Last holding the ball or holding the bat or whatever it is. I can never remember my sayings. I'm trying to be cool, that's all. So does that make sense? You don't want to be the last one sort of to realise that the market's rolling over and then sell out, potentially break even. So traders are always looking, you know, professional traders, the proper way of trading, take as much out of that stock. You know, when it becomes a low risk trade to a high risk trade, that's where you'd probably want to ease off your risk. If you can book some gains, book some partial, whatever. And that's why you get these extended legs up. They start getting a bit extended. You know, less and less buyers left on the sidelines to get into the market, ready for another push higher. So you just got to try to look at things in terms of probability. Last rat left on the ship. I reckon you made that up too, Helen, anyway. I wouldn't have thought that. All right. So that's, what was that? Information technology. Yeah, look, this one, actually, materials doesn't look too bad. I mean, go back to the weekly. It's had a big move down, and we're starting having a leg higher. We're sort of getting, we're just starting to get through. That was probably, for me, that key lower high. It made a move down to the lows, popped back another lower high, and that's that sort of washout to the lows at the start of 2016. And since the start of 2016, had a good run up, corrective action here. Wash out a few of these late traders, especially when you start getting up to some of the highs. You're probably expecting more of a correction to wash out people. Titanic. Yeah, I haven't watched Titanic for a while. So you expect that sort of corrective action, and then you start a new leg up. So if that's the case, this leg could still have quite a bit to go. Obviously, some of these stocks are quite hot at the moment. MMJ, what's that? Metals and mining, looking a bit the same. What is the daily? So the daily's correcting at the moment, but the key level's way down at 31. So that can correct as much as it wants. If it doesn't break that anchor to the leg up, then that's just washing people out and it's ready to go again. So there could be opportunity again here. XJR, resources, it looks a bit the same. That was just like the stock we looked at. That's like the XJO. Pretty much, isn't it? So you can see there's a definite correction. You've got the move up here. Lower highs, lower lows. It's corrected lower. So that's period from pretty much the start of the year, I'd say, January till June, probably about a 5 or 6 month correction there. And we've had a longer term move up. It may be getting a bit long in the tooth here, and if you could probably just we can come a bit further. Look, we're probably still, in all honesty, it could have a bit more to go, and we may be getting towards the, you know, the tail end of that move up. And the move up I'm talking about is from here, right down at 31. Maybe getting the tail end of that. Doesn't mean there's still not opportunity, because if you pick the right stock, good quality stock within that, it may be a different scenario altogether, but all you're really worried about is this on the rise. Are we on the rise or are we correcting? There are two things you've got to really try to assess in each sector. If it's correcting, then you may not find as much opportunity. If it's not correcting and it's on its way up, a new leg up, whatever stage you're at of that sector up, then just assess the probability of it. If it's still, you could be halfway in your judgment, halfway. If you're talking about here, just after we popped up here, we're correcting this leg up here. It's just a high low building. If you're looking at it here, you go, okay, there's quite a bit of, it could be quite a bit of, we're probably 50-50. We haven't really getting a low probability trade yet. It's probably still not too bad. Quite a bit left in this sector on the leg up. Then you're just looking for a quality setup within the sector, something good. So yeah, we don't go through the rest of them. Not looking too bad. What's this one? Telecommunications. They're bloody hopeless, so forget about them. Optus, the devils. Gold. Let's look at gold. Gold's a bit of a mixed bag here. That weekly, I don't mind that, but it's just this latest price action on the daily that have got me. You can see it's struggling up here. It's made those lower highs. It's starting to make higher lows here, but this could easily be more of a range trade between, say, 41 and 49, 5,000. So this could easily roll over, take out that high low, come back down here, retest the 41, and bang, up she goes again. So at the moment, it's not looking too convincing. The thing is, you can see it's getting extended to the downside. It's getting oversold down here, and we're holding up around 47. So just keep an eye on the gold sector. See if anything starts running there. I think it has got potential because I do like this move. And you can see this curve up. It's curved up. It's got steeper and steeper and steeper until you have to get that sell-off. I mean, everything that goes up must come down. Talking about Bitcoin. Cobalt stocks. Oh, I wish we could actually get chuck in some. We'll have a look at those in a minute because I know they've gone pretty good. I've got some feeds on that. I'm watching. If you've got some stocks that you're looking at, Nandor, just whack them in. Yeah, so this one doesn't look too bad. If that can pop up through 5,000, I think gold could be on. But I think it needs a trigger like the overall markets. I mean, traditionally that's a bit of a safe haven bet on gold. Oh, gold just keeps digging higher. We've got the Aussie dollar. Don't forget these are stocks on, in terms of Australian dollar, not US dollars. So gold can do nothing. They can go up because of the Aussie dollar. XCJ. So I'm getting sidetracked here, but these are the sectors. So obviously, like we said just before, picking the ones that are on the way up, not going sideways or not correcting. All right. So really, you just want to be buying into a nice, healthy sector, and then you're just drilling down to each particular stocks that you've got your eye on. What looks good? What's setting up? What's a high probability trade in a high probability sector? That's as simple as that. All right. So what I generally do, we've spoken about before. I don't want to bore you too much, but Laurent was asking, how do you go through? I basically flick through. And after all that talk about sectors, I'd go through them once a month if I'm lucky. I'll just flick through them to see if there's been much change to get an idea. Because generally you're going to see the ones that are setting up, in my view, the ones that end up on my alert page are going to be in that sector that's getting hot, that's looking good. All right, and all I really do, I can't do it now because I've got different filters on these. But what I'll go through is just go through the end of the day, maybe on a Monday. I used to do it every Monday night. Flick through every stock. Not every stock, obviously. There's some that are just rubbish. I might filter it with regards to what volume they've turned over. If they've only turned over 10 grand for the day, don't really bother it because way too low. And they're good. They're really, really specky. But looking at it in terms of volume, some that's had some good volume for the day, and just see which ones are up, which ones are down, and just flicking through the charts. Just flick, flick, flick. Because I think after a lot of time, you know what you're looking for. And all we're really looking for is... it's the same as what we just said on the sectors. We're looking things, I tend to lean towards, and we'll draw it up. I don't know how everyone else trades. Everyone's got to find their own rhythm, I guess, with the markets, but I'm tending to look for, after a correction, I'm trying to look for those bigger legs up. So if we can look at, like we've drawn before, that's your leg up. This is a corrective phase, say on the weekly, and then I'm looking to take advantage of the next leg up, okay? And I basically measure those from low to high. And if I'm buying somewhere in here, this is a weekly chart, so I'm looking down to the daily for a setup. If I'm looking to buy in here, I'm projecting that leg up for potential, especially if it's into new highs. If it's into new highs, there's two different things. New highs, it's coming into previous highs. So previous highs are going to form some sort of resistance. So all you're really looking for is to take advantage of a potential nice strong weekly leg higher in a good sector, in a performing sector, whatever it may be. It doesn't have to be a performing sector. You can get some stocks just flying that the sector's got nothing, it's going down. So that's why I like to look for my setups individual stocks. And like I said, when they are in a good sector, they're gonna start showing up on your filters, showing up on your scanners, anything, or the way you look at the market. So I like to tend to look at that. So for me, you've got two different styles of trading. You've got continuation trades, where you might be buying in here, and I'll draw that in a different color actually. So each leg up, like we said before, is made of generally, pull back here on the dailies, pull back here, and then you get that little spike up. Then you might get a lower high, and it might pull all the way back. And then you start getting, higher lows, like we said before. That's your type of action on your daily in the red. So I'm always looking in for that high low, and I'm looking to try to take advantage of a move up. And like if anyone's watched this, what we've talked about in the past, if this is your major leg up on the weekly, 1/3 to 2/3 retracement is what I'm technically it's not a Fibonacci level. It's just roughly, looking at historical charts. That's where they tend to pull back. A strong market will be up at a 30% pullback of that. We're talking the blue line now, the blue move up. That's your weekly leg high. It's expanded higher. We're contracting lower, and then you go into expansion again. So when it contracts lower, a strong market may only pull back about 30% of the original move up. Whereas something a little bit weaker, where the sellers are starting to come in a bit more, might be towards that 60%. But anywhere between there, 30 to 60, is I'm happy. I'm happy to start searching for a zone which is going to start on the daily chart. We're going to start seeing buyers step up to the plate. We've washed out enough people of that original leg up. Enough of those late buyers have been squeezed back out of the market with this push lower, this corrective action lower. And then we're starting to look like for that sort of a zone on the daily chart. If I can just draw that, this sort of a high low. All right, so that's what I tend to lean towards a lot, is looking for the higher low, and I'm looking to take advantage of another strong weekly leg up, and I think that's risk reward wise, it's going to give you some really good payouts. There's also the continuation trade where the market's just heading higher, and you're just looking for, trying to get active in this zone or this zone, but this is all part of a major leg up, whether you're here or another sort of buy entry in here. That's your sort of a continuation trade, but you've got to be wary of what your overall, and if you're looking at just the daily and you're going, okay, I'm looking to buy in here, okay, what I always do, I'm happy for those, because if it's set up, it's set up. If it's going, you're not going to question, you're not going to try to second guess whether it's going to pull back. You're not trying to guess that it's pulling back and just leave it, because I've seen some really good trades kick on and you get a 4-to-1 trade on it. And I've obviously missed out because you're trying to put your biases onto the market. Don't try to question it. It's just a setup. Like any other setup, it's set up and you're looking at it for continuation. Just be wary of the differences and how far you might be into that and what kind of a high probability, low probability trade you're trying to get into. This for me is high probability of a new leg up. The structure that I'm always looking for. This is more of a low probability, but they can still pay off quite nicely. All right. So you just got to be wary of where you are. And if you start seeing signs of maybe a lower high forming, you might just want to bail, so you've got to attack the trade a bit differently. Does that make sense, guys? So this was a bit of a spiel on other stuff. I sort of got sidetracked, but I'm hoping that, Laurent, this is making a bit of sense and what we're looking for. So I'm tending to scan my stocks. I'm looking for trades that have come back down to correction. Oh, fantastic, Nendo. We'll go through those. CZN, I've got that myself, actually. It's not doing anything, mate. Probably got better ones somewhere else. CLQ, I don't know if we've had that. All right, so I'm tending to lean towards that one. So when I'm scanning through stocks, I might just flick it over to the weekly. I tend to have it flick back and forward to the weekly because if you can see, maybe it's better going to here. If you can see what I've got through the bottom, this is a longer term chart. So I get a bit of an idea. All you really need is to get an idea of where we are. Are we at the top end of a move? Are we at the bottom end of a move? Where are we in regards to your longer term charts? And then I'll just flick through, bang. Oh yeah, that's probably getting a bit long in the tooth. Look at the longer term chart. Look, that's extended higher. That's, there's probably going to be some profit taking here. You've gone from 30 to $1.50. You'd probably be a bit crazy just to sit there and wait thinking this is going to the moon. I know people do, but the way I would look at it, okay, we're getting a bit long there. Maybe don't put it on the watch list. But again, I might have it on a watch list because it hasn't broken down yet. We're not really corrective. That could be more of a continuation trade. So I just flick through, basically flick through like that. What was that? I missed it. No one actually looked all right. Yeah, okay. So I'll just flick through and try to get an idea of what sort of phase we're in. This one's gone up, we've corrected, we've gone up, and we're potentially correcting now. So this one, TME, check out the volume, not bad volume. Okay, so it's buyable. What we're looking for here is just a higher low. Okay, so this one could go on the watch list, for instance. TME, chuck it on my alerts. I'll put in a couple of levels that will trigger if the price trades up above or below. Potentially put one below 380 because that's the most recent, if we can see that. Put an alert below here. So if it goes down below 380, okay, I'll look at it, maybe take it off because it's not showing me the signs I want to see. Or just putting it above 460. So if it trades up at 460, maybe this is not really going to build the high low, you know, for whatever reason, but just keep an eye on it. But generally what I'll do after that is have it on my alert list. If it doesn't come up, every now and then I'll just flick through those alerts to see where they're at, if much has changed on the price action. And if this one has held between those levels, but you can see that it's starting to, if I can get it up, I'll draw it. It's not going to come up very well, is it? All right. I hope you can see that. So that's your first leg down. We've got a lower high here, and it's pushed down to make a lower low. So ideally, I don't really want it to break below there because that's showing too much weakness for me. And so at the moment, we've got that move up, push down, move up, push down. We've got to about here. So ideally, I'd be looking for, maybe it might pop up a bit more and then pull back and build a higher low, maybe a bit more contraction, and then start to look for an opportunity to buy. Because I know we're starting to hold, through this price action, we're starting to hold some high lows. And we got price contracting, and it's got to break one way. And as soon as you get once it's broken up, it's good confirmation, everything makes sense. All right, then you're looking for that buy entry setup. So all I really do is have them on another watch list every now and then, go through just to see what's going on. So that's the way I would do it. So just drilling through things, but having some sort of watch list, and just, you probably don't need to go over them every single day. But I think just by flicking through, there's no way of getting around it. You've got to flick through stock charts. You've got to go through them. The more you go through, the more it helps you pick out the zones you might want to get in. So Laurent, for example, if you trade a bit similar to me, you like seeing stuff that's coming out of a corrective phase, going into expansion when it's expanding. So you're trying to get in nice and early when we say the outcome is unknown. All right, the outcome's unknown. We're trying to get nice and early, but when it's setting up for us, we've got our alert, we've got our entry, and then just jump in. There's nothing left to do but jump in and see if you're right. And if you're wrong, you know exactly where your risk is. If you're right, you try to follow it up and squeeze as much out of that leg up as you can. And that's, I guess, the name of the game. If you trade similar, or if you trade continuation, like we mentioned before, and you're just looking for little nibbles at stocks, you know, great. Then you just really got to put together a watch list. You still got to go through with that in mind. Your style, just go through checking stocks, checking stocks, checking stocks. Car, that's another one. That's looking great. I was looking at it a while ago, but missed that completely, that move up. But you can see that's potentially, that's your weekly chart. It's gone up, corrected sideways, had a little pop up, come back all the way back down again, correct, and then started holding some higher lows. So in here would have been beautiful. That's a different setup to what we saw just here. That probably didn't have as much legs in it. In essence, it's rolled over again. But in here, when you get that inside level, what we say, or we've spoken about before, great little setups, nice and strong, and that's powered on. So who knows where that's going right now? But you know, it's just a matter of going through like that. Oh God, that one looked good. And what you've got to do is take notice when you see a good one. Anyway, put in some stocks, guys. We'll go through it now. So far, so good. Is it, we're streaming okay? We may have had that problem solved. Once I figured out what I've done and what the difference between what I was expecting and what Optus were doing, it seems like they've solved it. All right, so what we'll do, feel free, guys, to put in some stock codes you want to have a look at, or if you've got questions just on what we're looking at, feel free to ask or send through an email like Laurent did. Feel free. If it's a good thing to talk about between everyone, we'll use it for a bit of a chat on one of the streams. If not, I'll just email you back. That's to support@tradesetup.com.au. Anyway, let's get into it. We've got some stuff from Nandor. We'll look at COB, close of business. Let's go to a different chart. If anyone knows, I just want to see what this is. Sydney airports. This one could roll over. All this looks positive. I'm just not seeing any too much strength. What I'm seeing a couple of weeks ago, this little pop up here was a bit of a washout of this previous high. Struggled to get up here. It was overbought at that stage, overbought. So these little moves up are getting overbought, which would suggest that there's more sellers coming in, closing out. And what I was thinking, I mean, I could be completely wrong. This could potentially roll over. See these moves? This move up was quite strong, and then it consolidated, held the high. So that's really good sign of strength. All right. Good sign of strength that it's popped up. It's gone hard. So that was the buyers just smashing it, taking out the sellers, just running them over and then pushing high. Had a bit of consolidation here. We really didn't make anything. It was no lower highs or anything. And then boom, up we go again, right up to the previous highs. Bit of a washout here. But what we're seeing now is the price action. It's making higher lows, but you see this type of thing, it's a bit different. That type of price action it's not strength in buying. Could be completely wrong. Could blow out through those highs at 760 and just have this kind of leg up day after day, 10 days in a row, green. But instead it's having a few days, selling coming in, a few days, selling coming in, a few days, selling coming in. Does that make sense? So that's why, you draw your support across the lines, across the higher lows, draw a support line across there, and then all of a sudden if it breaks that support line and you start getting towards, say, 715, all right, there's a good heads up. We've got a selling zone up here, right up towards 770, 780. Then you've got a lower high along with a washout of that zone around that 760, 750 mark. And then you've got it looking like it's going to start breaking down. And then just taking into account what that kind of move up, it's moved up all the way from $3 up to 775, say, 760, without much corrective. And that's corrective price action here. It could be a double top. You've got a lower high potentially starting to build. Be interesting to see how this one plays out. Anyway, enough of my banter. COB. Oh, Cobalt. Not much to say about this one. It's just gone boom. Cobalt Holdings, is it? You can see the volume started to come in here. This did nothing too much through here. Maybe some news. Somebody knew something. Popped up quite strong. 330. Pull back. Build a high low. Ideal. For me, there wasn't a really strong setup just here. Your last chance buy would have been through that high, but then your risk is down here. So your risk is down about, say, 21 from 31. It's about a 50% risk. I wouldn't have liked that one on the risk basis, but in hindsight, that's turned out really well. You can see it's looking like it's starting to get a bit stretched up here. This kind of price action through 70, the way it got rejected, and that was quite a big session after a big up day as well. And how it's bounced quite sharply. Be interesting to see how it goes, whether it can blow through those highs and continue up to $1, say. Either way, yeah, I mean, for me, wouldn't jump into that just yet. I want to see, if I see this type of action, I want to see like complex correction, like you see, I want to see people get washed out of the market. I think for me, the risk on buying it here, this is a very low probability trade if you're going to buy it up here. I know fundamentalists might disagree, but for me, I would like to buy into something a bit more high probability, but either way, that's looking great. What's your others? You got ASN, Anson Resources. So this is coming into a zone. Go back to the weekly. That's a bit of a different story. It's popped up. It's sort of grind higher. Had a good little sell-off down to 1 cent, and then boom, up she goes to 16. Good. This is completely different, actually. I like that setup. See that setup here? If anyone can see what we're talking about, obviously you probably can. It's pretty clear. That for me is a nice setup. You've got a sort of a sell zone through here, okay? It's popped up, popped up, couldn't get it. Tried again, it got through, and then it struggled. So then markets pretty much sold all the way back down. So a lot of these buyers that were trying through here to go into new highs, being washed out of the market, and then it started lifting again. Whether it was on the back of news, it got straight back up to that same resistance zone. But then you've had a bit of a pullback, and that's brought in more buyers. You can see it's buying at higher levels. Ideally, that inside level through probably about 4.5 cents. You know exactly where your risk is. You're front running a breakout because you know that there's going to be a lot of longer term traders buying it through 5.5, 6. So in essence, that was a beautiful little setup on that one. That was a cracker. It was getting a bit long here. It was a bit of a, you know, how do you say, a bit of a punt. But I love that type of price action. It's holding high lows here. Buyers are stepping up to the plate. Inside level's always good. And you can see that boom. You know when you're right. I mean, God, you can't get it wrong. If you sort of pop up through here and nothing much happens and it pulls back again, there's just maybe not as much buying as what you thought could have been into the market. So that was beautiful. And look what it's done, all the way up to, say, 16 cents. This move down, washing out a lot of people. You've got, that's probably a bit further along than the last one, COB. COB was about here. So it's looking like that extension up, really with not much pullback. And then you've got this pullback, so it's flushed out a lot of these buyers who have bought it up here, maybe up here. Whether it's flushed them out or they're still holding it, there's going to be a few nervous, what do you call it, sweaty palms if you bought it, say, around 13, you're sitting at something around 8.5. Whether this thing goes all the way back down to 1, I mean, who's to say just yet? But that move down is flushing out a lot of people. So really from here, I'd ideally want to see, you know, your high-low start, but I want to see a bit of work done before you start getting it lifting again. Because as soon as you start getting it lifting, you know that sooner or later if there's some positivity in that stock, it's going to start accelerating higher. And then you might get, over the longer term, start to attack 16 again. Or this thing can just turn around and go boom. Could be completely wrong without a setup. But that's what I want to see if I'm ready to get into it. All right, I hope that helps. That's a good one. What's that? CLQ. They got smashed. Don't necessarily like the last few days on that one. Was that because of a capital raising on that? A few days ago, they announced something. A cleansing statement. Okay. Either way, it doesn't matter. We were looking at this one for a buy entry through 165 because basically it's looking like a continuation trade. You know where your risk is going to be. You can hold quite well at that stage. Let's just make it bigger. So why I was liking this one. Is that what I wanted? Oh, here we go. So for me, I like, before we got these red candles, I was liking this for a push up through like an inside trade, inside continuation, meaning we've had this bit of a washout. 1, 2, you can see that. Held up around here, 140, ideal spot to build a higher low after a good little washout, moving back to the MAs, so it's more of that reversion back to the mean. You know, a few people have been flushed out, it's ready to go again. And this little move up has got through that minor little ankle level. So it was all setting up quite nicely. This, if it was nice and strong, we should have gone boom, up through here, attacked these highs and potentially extended those highs up towards $1. Instead, we got bang, straight back down again. So that didn't play out. That was ready to go on our entry. We had it all ready to go. We knew exactly where our risk is going to be. But what's happening here, it's more of, it turns out to be slightly different for me. If I just take all these mix off. There's more of that type. So this may be one on a longer term. And look, we could be into the zone, but it needs to set up. You can see that selling pressure has been quite heavy. You know, maybe we're getting more of this type of thing. It's pulling right back, longer term, coming back to, you know, reversion back to the mean on a longer term basis, and whether we have to start holding here. But that, to me, that vertical, near vertical move down, that acceleration down is not very good. It has to do a lot of things, and I think to convince people that buyers are stepping in, it's probably got a lot of work to do before that starts. And you can see if that's the case, that contraction may take the good part of 6 months again. You know, where it contracts to a point where you get this type of setup, holding higher lows again. You've got a well-defined sort of breakout from contraction to expansion. Is that making sense, guys? Why, you know, and it's always good to know exactly when you're wrong. And generally our levels are, if we give you, you know, through the app, if we're given a buy level and a sell level, if it hits a sell level first, something's not right, because for us that shouldn't be touched. Ideally, when you're planning ahead, that shouldn't be touched. So if it is touched, something's happening that we didn't quite know, or it's not working to plan. Step aside, reassess it. Always know a level like that. Never get convinced that you're right or wrong. All right. Bit of a sermon here. AXE, let's look at what's happening there. Oh, that's nice. And that's quite clear. It's doing quite a bit of work. It may have a bit more work to do. It probably has got a bit more work to do, but you can see strong move up, obviously. Good correction lower. Was trying to go again, made a lower high, but then it come buyers were stepping back in at 10 cents and they popped it back up. It's still going to build a high low for me. If you can build a high low, especially if it's around 12, we've got our defined level at about 13.5. Buy and push through that. You know where your risk is, away you go. So that one's actually looking quite good. And still, I mean, it's only a 20-cent stock. It's probably a low volume stock by the looks of it, but 280,000 at 10 cents. What's that? 28 grand. So it's a bit on the offer, a bit on the bid. It's not too bad, but that price action is actually, that's all right. I think if we can build a high low, the fact that it's held up around 10 is not a bad sign. I mean, this can go blow through 10, deeper correction, sit on your hands and wait and watch. But at the moment, it's starting to show like it's in a good area. I've seen some good early signs of nice price action. CZN, what's that one? Corazon, yep. I've got this one, and I'm behind the ball, 8 ball. Actually, I'm probably a bit behind on this one. But either way, I like this move up. I liked it way back here, and it just kept edging lower, and you had this little spike up. This has got to hold a higher low, and it's got to pop up through that 2.2, start building again. And then what you'd like to see is that correction lower, but at a high level. So it's more of that 1/3 correction than a deeper correction. That smaller correction, when it gets sold down pretty heavily, it gets down to oversold, but it's holding a high level, always a good sign. Good sign that buyers are in strength and buying numbers are strong. So it's good. Still waiting to see what happens on that one. I'm sort of seeing it as if they can go chop, 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 bang, up she goes, and it's in a good zone. You know, obviously a good area. We'll see what happens on that one. It could just turn around and do nothing. And it's a low traded one. Ideally, I wouldn't send this out an alert, but sometimes you just can't help yourself. What else we got? That makes sense. There's our KDR. Let's look at that then. That's nice. That's showing Kidman Resources. That's the only thing I see on this one, and it's probably more on this chart, is getting a bit extended up here. We might have to have more of a complex correction. This might be due for a complex correction here. And you can see why it's had a good sell-off here. That was quite heavy compared to this move down. Quite heavy selling here. It's got back up. That could be the start of a double top. And it's not confirmed until we get through some of these higher lows, maybe 140. If it just pops up through, okay, it's a continuation. Up she goes. It's going to extend higher. It's not quite done yet. The sellers are, not quite taking, I guess, working it all out, taking charge. So we'll just see what happens on this one. Oh, I'm quite proud that we solved that problem. It's looking good. All right. So I'm just talking about the stream. We're getting towards the end and it's held up nicely. That's good to know. All right, so this one, the way I just quickly view this one, yeah, this could be, well, actually we should have a bet on this one there. I don't like that. Let's try that again. Yeah, what I'd ideally like to see, and it's quite clear, it's got through, that was a key level. Key level started through here, it's had that little pop up, and it's come all the way back down, did nothing for, what was that, 2014, 15, 16, 3 years. Well, say two and a half years before it started popping up again here, all the way up. The good thing is, beautiful how it held, past tense, a high low there. When you get that break up here, another high low here, it would have been a tough sort of gig to buy it through there, but it's holding high low, so that's a really nice sign. If you take it across the bottom, look, this thing could easily correct lower, hold the trend, do a bit more work, and then up she goes again. But for me, measuring it, it's a tough one. That's ideally my leg up. So if you measure that out from lows to highs at 5 to 80 and you go from here, that would take you somewhere around, maybe, I'm just guessing, what is that? Say it's 70 cents. 70 cents from 35, it's $1.05. So even if you give it to $1.10, that's your secondary leg. That's how I would have projected it at that stage, but it's well and truly extended that up to $1.70. So for me, I'm viewing this as being a bit overextended at current levels, and I'd like to see a complex correction, you know, washing out a few people and then starting to build, maybe finding some buyers, and then up she goes again. This curving price action, always nice to see something like that. That's what we're looking for. That's going to wash out a few people. That is evidence of buyers stepping in, and this is where you want to get on. You want to see your entry set up, and then ideally you want to get in at the right stage. If you're getting through here, pops up, come back. Yeah, as long as it holds a higher low, because you know where your risk is going to be here, and then you move your risk up, and then ideally you want to get on here when it just accelerates, and then it doesn't look back, and then you've got onto a cracker. All right, so that's looking. It's got some good signs. I think it's, like I said, I view that more as a low probability trade just at the moment, up at these levels. I want to see it wash out a few late traders and then go. But it's definitely, that for me, that's potentially just one leg up, one major leg. It could have a nice, good, complex correction, and it could be the start of a new, stronger, longer term leg up. It's looking good. All right. Probably call it a day there, guys. We got through that. Nice. I'm happy with that. I'm not so disappointed. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for hanging in there. Hopefully we've got this problem solved and we're going to get through the streams that won't have any more problems. I'm going through my new little, modem that goes through 4G, goes through the phone line. So, yeah, I know you're very short, aren't you? 1 to 4 days hold. Look, if you get your, like you said, if you get your setup, this is where trading, this is the art form of trading. When you know where you're getting in and you know what you expect, and if it doesn't work out, you know how to get out. And you've got everything planned, pre-planned. And I know I've spoken to Helen quite a few times. I know she does. So we have different styles, which is great. Different styles of trading. As long as, I mean, who cares how you trade as long as you're making money? I think so. It's good. You've got to know exactly what you're looking at, what you're setting up, or what is potentially going to set up and how you trade it. So it's cool. It's actually be interesting to see. Anyway. I'll finish it there. Look, I'm going to ramble. Thanks very much for joining us, guys. I hope you enjoyed yourself. I hope now that we got through that unscathed, it was great. Before I die. That's a bit morbid, but sounds good. All right, thanks for joining me, guys. We're back in on Thursday. I don't know how long we're going to go until Chrissy. What have we got? 2 more weeks, isn't it? It's a good chance we'll do next week. What's the name? We'll do this week. It's Monday. We'll do Thursday. Then we've got this. Then there's 1 more week before Christmas, isn't it? We could probably. I'll let you know. We'll probably do the Monday because I've got a feeling that a few more people will be starting to wind down, get into Christmas. We might call it a day on the streams and come back stronger, bigger and badder and stronger next year. We're seeing a few more people get into the trade setup, so hopefully the numbers start increasing and we get a bigger forum and we can all have a good old chat. So thanks for joining me, guys. We'll see you this Thursday. Have a great few days. Speak to you then.